alive.
Welcome to another MCU Mondays here on this Monday. Makes sense. My name's Chris. I'm here with my co-host Debbie. Glad to see you. How are you doing today, Debbie?
Well, I'm kind of pissed I missed out on the Star Wars discussion before the show.
Well, there wasn't much of it that you actually missed out on. But yeah, well, you know me. So you're hosting that Marvel show again tonight? Yep. You gonna have a different backdrop? Oh, hell no. Look at this majestic Yoda. A lot of my power is derived from that Yoda. Anyway, we're also joined by the man I was having that conversation with, David, down below. David, how are you?
I'm good. Good
to hear it. We're very excited today to talk about probably my favorite movies in all of the X-Men. Deadpool's my favorite character, and that Logan movie, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Deadpool, Logan, and Deadpool 2. The only R-rated films of the Fox mutant run.
I guess maybe we should put a pause on this for just a minute and say, hey, this show might have a little more mature content to it.
Yeah, well,
because they're rated R movies, so there might be some dirty language.
There's likely, spoiler alert, there may be talk about things that are rude and lewd and crude, and they won't always rhyme. So look out.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Tell Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
I mean, that's our guy. That's our guy. That was a PG-13 movie. They only got one of those for the entire thing, and they were like, well, Wolverine. Who would it make the most sense coming from? Absolutely. So, yes, today, Deadpool, my favorite superhero of all time. That's who I went as for Halloween. Suicidal Deadpool, as he was in the extended version of Deadpool 2. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But we also got some word of reshoots happening on Doctor Strange. We're going to talk about that first, and then we're going to get into talking about these three amazing movies. So make sure you stay tuned. For right now, let's get our intro going.
Theme song guy.
Oh, yeah!
Those bullets are like super fast.
I was wondering if that was going to work its way into the show tonight.
I had to. I don't have like the isolated clip by itself, but I did put it in the beginning. But there are so many clips. There's too many clips. I didn't have time to get all the clips.
Ow.
God, I miss cocaine.
Her. Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
I knew, David, that's one of your favorites.
Oh, love it.
And
love it.
I love Deadpool. That's one of my favorite things about him is the fourth wall breaks, and they make use of it so amazingly in the Deadpool films. Also, they're rated R. The juxtaposition of comedy and tragedy and gore and haha, and it's masterfully done. The comedy is great, and the fact that he's wearing the mask actually allows them to, in post, change jokes, try out different jokes. What's the funniest thing for him to say here? Because we can put in anything. And Ryan Reynolds brought this film to life. But before we get into that, I got too excited. Doctor Strange reshoots. Everything's been pushed back. So first of all, we know Doctor Strange got pushed back to May. Other film, pretty much everything's been delayed. Some of that had to do with COVID. And but what we're hearing, the rumor around Doctor Strange is that they're about to do 6 weeks of 6-day-a-week reshoots. One person said that's basically like shooting an entire new film. Somebody else said, hey, other movies have gone through reshoots just like this. And, you know, so again, reshoots are a normal thing. And what with COVID and when this was shot, I'm not surprised to hear it, but 6 weeks of 6-a-day shoots is a lot of stuff. And what do you think? And also, they have said that part of the reason they're doing this is to like fill in the gaps for actor availability. Also, because of COVID stuff, they shot some stuff when other people were available, and maybe they're thinking now that the situation's a little better, they can get stuff done a little bit more efficiently. Maybe they can shoot something better than what they had. And as this is going to be a very anticipated movie, they want to make sure that they. But what do you guys think? Any thoughts on the fact that they're doing reshoots for this?
I'm not too worried. I don't know. I kind of had an inkling that since they delayed all of the movies, that possibly they might go back and do some reshoots and that. So every movie has them, like you said, and I'm not too concerned about it. I mean, if they can do some things that they weren't able to do before because of COVID, then I'm all for it. You know, if it makes the movie better, I'm not going to complain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just glad they didn't pull a Rogue One and say, okay, here's a trailer and everybody enjoy. And then it's like, oh, well, we're reshooting and changing. Everything you saw in the trailer is not in the movie at all. So we don't have it. We don't have a trailer. There's nothing to base it on to say, okay, I can't wait to see this part in the movie. And then it's not there because, oh, that was deleted for reshoots. But that also says, hey, when I buy the Blu-ray of this movie, there's going to be some really cool deleted scenes or alternate endings or alternate scenes. It'll be great.
And Rogue One, I mean, if you watch that trailer, you had like an idea of what was going to be happening at the end of that movie, because that was a very revealing trailer as well. There were shots in that from the original ending of that film, which included them running across the beach with like the Death Star plans in their hand. None of that ever happened in the final version. So reshoots can lead to big plot changes. So that may be what's happening here. No one can say for sure right now. All we know is that the reshoots are happening for Doctor Strange. I'm still excited for it. Nothing's going to stop me from being excited for that.
The
only thing that dampened my excitement was the fact that it got delayed, but that now I'm just hungrier.
They probably heard us talking and they're doing reshoots so they can put Mephisto in there.
Damn straight.
You guys think that we have a lot more pull than we have.
You never know.
Hey, somebody could be watching and listening.
They're on to us. All right. Well, so reshoots on Doctor Strange. Anywho, let's get into talking about Deadpool, which, as I was saying before, Ryan Reynolds made this happen. He played Wade Wilson. We talked about him when we talked about X-Men Origins. He played a version of Deadpool in that, which they make fun of tons in the new Deadpool. It's so perfect. And again, this version of Deadpool, the Deadpool that we all love, in the comics, in the Deadpool comics, Deadpool says, I look like Ryan Reynolds if he was bit by a radioactive Shar-Pei. And another time he says, I want Ryan Reynolds to play me if they make a Deadpool movie. So like this love affair of him and this character, and he's the perfect guy for this role, has been ongoing. But to make this movie happen, I don't know if you guys remember the situation when this movie, they leaked test footage. And now it's a big joke. Ryan Reynolds openly basically admits it. He's like, somebody released the test footage that we did because Fox wasn't convinced. But they knew if they got the fans to see this test footage. And it's basically what you see in that first scene of the movie where he's taking down the SUVs. That was that test footage that got released. And then fans went insane. And then they were like, Fox is like, well, we do like money. And we have no idea when to cancel things or what to do, Futurama. So, all right, Firefly. All right, Firefly. Fine. Yeah, tons of things.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff.
God. But yes, so they forced it. Deadpool's happening. And then it came on the big screen. And it just, I remember I dressed up for it. I was the most excited I've ever been, and I was not disappointed.
Hush falls over the crowd as rookie sensation Wade W. Wilson out of Regina, Saskatchewan, lines up the shot. His form looks good. Oh, that's why Regina rhymes with fun.
He is the merc with the mouth, and Ryan Reynolds brings such a passion to this character. And the fact that they tie it into X-Men stuff, and even when we get to the end of the first Deadpool, they tie it into like Avengers stuff, but we can talk about that. What did you guys think? Initial thoughts, Deadpool, first R-rated, basically like mutants film, Fox film. I know Blade exists. We're going to talk about that another day, but I mean, this is the there are X-Men in this film. A lot of people didn't, because, think that was going to be happening. What did you guys think? Deadpool.
Well, this was probably the first X-Men film, that I actually went to the theater to watch. We took my oldest son because it came out around his birthday. And I was just so excited that it was Ryan Reynolds because nobody else could do Deadpool than Ryan.
It's like Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark.
I mean, I've loved Ryan Reynolds since he was on the TV show. What was it? Two Boys, a Man, or a Girl in a Pizza Shop, or whatever. I have, you know what show I'm talking about. Yeah, I've loved him ever since then, and so I was really excited to see him pull this off. And like I said, perfect character for Ryan Reynolds. And like you said, he made it all happen. Nobody else could do this character like he could. I mean, talk about squee moments.
And he was so, I think, determined to do it justice, especially after Green Lantern, which they also make fun of in both Deadpool movies, and after his performance in that original X-Men Origins thing where we got that Deadpool with the and
Wait, is that you?
Hey, it's me. Don't scratch. Just cleaning up the timelines. Look, one day your old pal Wade's gonna ask you to get back in the saddle again. And when he does, say yes.
he keeps shooting it as he walks away, just cleaning up the timelines. And that also, we're going to talk about that once we get to Deadpool 2. That's the end credit shout out that he gives to Wolverine that says, one day you're going to hang up those claws, but your old pal Wade's going to come back. Say yes. I hope to God that he does.
And it's been an ongoing thing for a few years now between him and Hugh. So,
Yeah.
And they joke about it on Twitter and stuff. Absolutely.
Commercials and everything. Yeah.
And I'm just praying because, again, and that's kind of how these movies came out. That's why we're doing Deadpool, Logan, and Deadpool 2, because Deadpool opened the door to the R-rated thing. Logan was standing ovation, walking away from a decade-long character and a huge influence on movie making, like
how many appearances
superhero
was
movie
that?
making. I mean, like
a lot.
13. I mean, wait, because his own trilogy, the original trilogy, that's 6. The second trilogy, he was in 2 out of the 3. So it's like, and then Days of Future Past, so 10. At least
he wasn't
10.
in Dark Phoenix, so
he wasn't in Phoenix.
That's the only one he wasn't in. So all of those other X-Men movies, yeah. And yeah, so like and it was such a amazing way to be able to hang that movie wouldn't have been as good if it wasn't rated R. And it's not at all like, I mean, there are some ways it's like Deadpool, but it's a much more serious movie. Like Deadpool is also making like potty mouth jokes and like all kinds of like nonsense humor, how Deadpool is. Like Logan takes itself very seriously. And it's still one of my absolute favorite movies ever. But let's stick to Deadpool for right now.
Well, I gotta say, the first Deadpool movie, the second one does it too, but the opening.
The opening credits.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it catches because it's not your normal opening credits. It's produced by these asshats or moody teen. I mean,
So, Star Wars trivia. George Lucas. Everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but he was kicked out of the
Directors Guild.
Directors Guild. The reason that he was kicked out was because when he made Star Wars, you have to do, and at the time, I don't know if it's exactly the same, you have to do the opening credit sequences. That's why you have opening credit sequences in every other. He was like, no, I'm not going to do that because and that's makes Star Wars iconic. It also got him kicked out of the Directors Guild, and that's why Steven Spielberg, he wanted him to like direct some of his other stuff.
He wanted him to direct Jedi.
Yeah. And they weren't allowed to work together. Now, I know Spielberg did direct some sequences in Revenge of the Sith and different things, but even that was on the down low just because, but that's how committed George was to having that title that opening sequence be the way that it is. And I think he came out history will say that, yeah, that was the right way to go, George. But yeah, the opening credits. So you have to have an opening credit sequence. Deadpool does a different twist on it entirely by instead of actually, and they do this in the first one and the second. In the first one, they're just like written by the real heroes here. And then they list all sorts of people. They actually have on one of the coffee cups that's flying in slow motion the name of the guy that wrote the Deadpool comics. But for the most part, they don't have the actual names of people on that part, which I think is pretty hilarious.
Oh, it was funny that they didn't have names, but even the names that they did have, it was, and Debbie had said something about moody teenager and huge CGI character.
An entirely CGI character.
So it was like, it was still describing the
film,
the who was in it. So,
yep. And I mean, I guess we'll talk about when we get to Deadpool 2, but they did a similar thing there, but instead of actually even saying who is in it, and they did sometimes describe it. Actually, well, I'll wait till we get to Deadpool 2 because there's a lot of differences between the theatrical version, the unrated version, and I'm assuming, I haven't watched this, but the Once Upon a Deadpool version. I assume I have never watched it.
We'll get to it. And
we'll get there. Yeah.
I told Luke because see, I remember. Okay, so opening day of Deadpool, my brother and I went to go see it, and I remember them making a big deal at like all the theaters about this is a rated R movie and 17 and under is not going to get in. And they were sticklers about it. They were really sticking to their guns on this one because we walked in and there were two kids in front of us and they were trying to get in and they asked for IDs.
Oh, I remember.
He said, I left my ID in the car. I'm like, classic. No, you didn't. You're not old enough.
Get a fake ID, poser. I was in like college. So I was there with my girlfriend and we were standing in line and they're asking for IDs. And I'm like, I was like, make me feel young again. It's like,
that's right.
Oh, this is crazy.
So I remember
they were busting down on that.
Well, and what made it so bad was Luke. I mean, you could go into any store, Target, Walmart, Kmart, whatever, and they had Deadpool merchandise. I mean, even before the movie was, they had the belt buckles and the socks, and there you go, T-shirts. No one cares.
I've got so much Deadpool stuff. Yeah, that's
but Luke, just going in and looking at the stores, he was like, that Deadpool, he was like, oh, I really like this character. And he was buying the comic books and reading the comic books and he loved it. And then the movie came out and it was rated R. And I was like, I tell you what, let me go watch it first. And if it's not that bad, got out and he asked me the next day, he's like, can I go watch it?
Yeah.
We even went so far as to say, okay, when it hit network TV, it was on FX. And I was like, okay.
I don't know if I ever watched it on TV. Wow, how was that?
Watch it on FX because they don't edit much of anything. The F-bombs, everything's still in it.
Well, I guess that's part of their like
Now,
DVD on TV thing. That
I don't know, but
I don't know how they got away with that.
Like I said, we watched it on FX, and we got like 10 minutes into the movie, and because Luke was watching it, and I was like, "This is on network TV. It ought to be edited." And nope, I was like, "No, we got to turn it off. It's because you had that whole opening sequence where they're." What did he say? He goes, "My boyfriend said that this was a superhero movie, but he just straight up murdered that guy."
He just put those swords through that guy like a freaking kebab.
That's right. So
well,
anyway,
this is it's because then he like actually describes how it's every other genre of. I like that about this film. Also, he's like, it's a romance. This is a horror story. This is, and like he just keeps switching back and forth, and it's just so much fun to have him narrating his own movie.
And
the fourth wall breaking stuff. The first time they do it is when he's in the cab. There's the gum that he flicks onto the camera. Then he's like, ugh.
But I was watching this again, and it was real. I mean, it wasn't real subtle, but I guess I was just paying attention this time. When he finds out he's got cancer and he's dying, and he goes to the bar, and the guy was like, "Hey, there's a guy over there, says he wants to talk to you," and he goes, "Yeah, what's he look like?" Blah blah blah. He goes, "I don't know, but it might further the plot a little bit."
The plot. Yeah.
And then he picks the name and he goes, "That sounds like a franchise."
That sounds like a franchise. Deadpool. Captain Deadpool. Nah, just Deadpool.
Nice. It was great. So I mean, even
and then they have the Deadpool rap that comes in when he starts the montage of him taking down the people leading up to the number one guy, Agent Smith. Deadpool. Deadpool. I'm pretty sure that game was in that, or that song was in the game as well that came out a while back, even before like any of it. And it was Deadpool and Cable in that game, which I absolutely love. The Deadpool game. It was great because when it came out, I pre-ordered it for $60, and then when it came out, they had lowered the price to $40 because it's such a short game. It's literally like, I don't know, 6 hours long, and there's not much more to it. But it is full on Deadpool, and so I was fine with it because I'm like, yeah, it's still Deadpool, and so I'm running, and you have Deadpool who talks like Deadpool, he talks to everyone else, and then you have two voices in your head which are also Deadpool, but one's kind of like, "Hey, what's going on?" and the other one's like, "I think we should be doing this," and so they're both constantly talking while you're doing stuff. There are enemies coming from that way. If video games have taught us anything, that's the way we should be going. Then there's like a cliff that you can't get across, and one of them's like, "Just think something." He's like, "Think something." I like any thought, and then you think something, and a thought bubble appears in the chasm. He's like, "Okay, there you go." And so he starts jumping across his own like thought bubbles because he could break the fourth wall and do all kinds of stuff. So there's even more of it in the game of that kind of stuff. And again, Cable is there looking like the comic book Cable, aka huge, and they make fun of that in.
Not.
They keep calling him a midget in Deadpool 2. It's so good. But the original Deadpool, yeah. I went to see that opening night, got ID'd and everything. I'm there. It was amazing. It was so much fun. It's just the action sequences were awesome too. It wasn't purely just like, oh look, he can say the F word how many times he wants, and they take full advantage of that. The jokes are adults. You look like an avocado face fucked in a topographical map of Utah. Like
you are literally horrifying.
Like Freddy Krueger. You're gonna die alone. Like seriously. No, I'm hoping that you die alone.
And it wasn't good fucking.
You think I should pretend that I'm dead? Yeah. Get a mask. A thick mask. He's so good. And his blind roommate, Blind Al, she's great in both of them too. Oh. I mean, they've really included a lot of these characters from the Deadpool lore. One of the interesting things is I think it'll be interesting to see where they go with the Deadpool story from here, especially now that like Disney owns it and it's not, I mean, so they might go a completely different direction and whatever. Oh. But it seemed interesting that in the first Deadpool, it was mostly about like him getting his powers and having his powers. And then in the second Deadpool, it was kind of like they hinted at that kind of thing. Because a lot of Deadpool, he like flirts with death like literally the specter of death. Like he's in love with death, but he can't die. So him and Thanos actually were competing because that was a Thanos thing in the comics too. Hey, she's back.
He's back.
So sorry.
Hey. Well, I'm glad you could make it back. I know internet troubles. That's
Happens to
So-
Chris
And to
all the
pop the
time.
router.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know what's up. So Debbie, we were just talking about the original Deadpool. I think we're going to move into Logan here in a second, and then we can talk more about the original Deadpool when we're talking about Deadpool 2, just because there's so much that goes into that all. But Logan also goes into that. So let's talk. Well, let's hear your last thoughts on Deadpool, and then we'll go into Logan. So anything else you want to say on Deadpool before we can get back to it later also.
We can come back to it because I don't want to repeat anything that you guys might have said.
Okay, so let's move into Logan. Logan, one of the best films around. If you are a huge X-Men fan or have watched the movies and you're a fan of the X-Men stuff that came out, then it really hits you really hard. Especially when you see some of those moments with like aging Logan, suffering from either early or some sort of stage of dementia, Professor X, and that's a guy whose mind is a weapon and he's losing control of it. I mean, seeing these things play out, and then you have the younger generation, which is kind of like, what hope is there for this younger generation? You know, and such heavy themes, but also masterful performances. Again, by Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart playing those two characters, seeing them side by side. I love this movie. Give me your thoughts on the movie as a whole, Logan.
I think we kind of touched on it, and I think that's one of the reasons I liked it a lot more. Was you had the rated R movie with the blood and the violence and the swearing, and I think there was even a nude scene in there somewhere. It was when he was driving around in the limo. But I mean, even with all of that, just how serious that movie actually was versus, you know, because we've come out of Deadpool, we're ready for some haha, and I'm not saying that Logan didn't have its moments. That whole scene where he was trying to help Patrick Stewart go to the bathroom and he's yelling, "I can do it myself." Trust me, I don't want to look at that anyway.
But even that's kind of still like, there's bringing humor out of that situation, but it's still like but
it's still a very serious, because he can't take care of himself.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart is,
and the thing about this film is like the nice moments and the humor moments. Like if we're talking about the like rise and fall of like how things happen, the nice moments usually lead to like devastating moments. Is like there's something that's like, wow, that's a normal nice slice of regular life right there. Boom, their family's murdered. But like, you know, oh, Patrick Stewart's losing control of his mind and killing people, which is something he wouldn't want to be doing. And so how does Logan say it? By killing other people, but they were trying to kill them to be fair. But it's still like things are spiraling out of control, and all Logan wants to do, from the very beginning of the movie, we see him trying to scratch a living as a limo driver. Like he's taking all these idiots everywhere, and he's just trying to make enough money so that he can go out on a boat and probably die. I mean, that's literally what what's his face says to him, is like, I saw that you were looking up adamantium bullets and different stuff.
I think I think the reason for the boat was to take the professor out to the boat, and then if he had one of his mood swings or whatever, it wasn't going. They're in the middle of nothing. He's not affecting anybody. The only person he would be affecting would be Logan on the boat, and Logan could, you know, Logan has obviously shown that he can. Basically, it was I think he was going out there for both of them to die. He was gonna let Xavier go
and
on,
then
and
when he
then
died,
he could take his own life.
So that's like the state of mind that he's in. Also, he's dying. He too is dying anyway. Now, later in the movie, the vet says it after he gets ravaged by his cloned self. And I mean, like, blah, if your healing factor's not working, yeah, he basically almost dies right there. It's right after Patrick Stewart does die. But that the vet's like, you've got something in you. It's killing you. They literally lay it out for the audience members that don't know what his deal is. But basically, Wolverine has a healing factor so intense that basically he could possibly live forever if nothing had ever happened to him. But they injected adamantium onto his bones, bonded it with his skeleton, and now part of his healing factor is just trying to keep him alive from constantly being poisoned by the metal in his bones and in his body. And so that goes well for a very long time, but still it's killing him. And so now his healing factor slowing down that scene in the beginning where he's trying to, like, he has to push his claws back in. And it's like, oh my gosh. And if it hurts every time, he said that in the very first X-Men movie. I mean, this has got to be agonizing stuff. And so what do we have here? Daytona Falls, thank you for joining us. Xavier's episodes can potentially affect the entire world. It seemed like in the film there was a radius that they affected when he was in the...
Well, he said, I mean,
if you hooked him up to the Cerebro, then yeah, you could. I mean, that was whole X-Men too. It was the target: find the humans, find the mutants. Concentrate. Yeah, Xavier. But I mean, even he's basically anywhere. If you take him to a populated area, he has the potential to kill everyone there, and then wake up.
And what do? They go to Las Vegas.
It wasn't the best plan. I don't know.
I'm harking back to that line from The Incredible Hulk. Oh, you want to put me in a metal tube?
Rhymes with
in one of the most volatile cities in the world. Yeah, let's take a cab. Hi, Travis.
Well, was that? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, that was before they ended up going to the farm. I mean, yeah. They didn't have many options, that's for darn sure. And they pretty much get caught immediately in Las Vegas. So it's not like they went there and everything went fine. It was like they went there and like the people were assaulting them. And that's when I guess Professor X maybe tried to use his power. He wasn't taking his drugs because he thought he might need it. Whatever happened, he started spazzing out. Froze pretty much everyone else. Wolverine, I guess, part of, he's able to muscle through it. He punches that one dude in the dome.
He's got his healing factor on his
claws. Yeah, I don't know. Well, he did the same. It's like, hey, so you remember the original X-Men Last Stand with the Phoenix and how he could walk through that? He can just walk through stuff. That's one of his powers. If there's stuff that's debilitating, he can slowly walk through it, unless Magneto's involved, in which case that cancels out that of it, because Magneto can. So okay,
well, Laura was able.
Let me consult the specs on the back of this trading card.
Laura was able to move too. She was slowly crawling across the floor. So
I think it had something to do with their carjacker. I think
oh yeah.
I think he auto-corrected.
Carjacket. So yeah, as soon as Logan's claws went into that carjacker's face, I knew we were in for an awesome ride. And that's another thing I wanted to mention about this film is not only is it just the action sequences are great, the plot is great, the cinematography is fantastic. The cinematographer that worked on this is the same guy that did Gladiator, the same guy that did Kingdom of Heaven. He also did Detective Pikachu. I mean, like, he's done a bunch of different stuff all over the place, but he is a consummate professional. I did a project on him when I was in college. That's why I know so much about him. He also started out doing music videos for like Nirvana and stuff like that. So he did Heart Shaped Box. He did, I think, one of the other ones. But so this guy is one of the best cinematographers out there, in my opinion. And this movie is beautiful. There's color theory in play. The kids, for instance, all the children usually are wearing brighter colored clothes or like clothes with color. Logan is almost always wearing entirely black or entirely white because he's like out of the superhero game, and like costumes and superhero stuff are brightly colored. And so you'll see the kid, by the way, she's either wearing like, and Professor X is usually wearing brown, which means he's kind of out of it, but not, and also blue to represent compassion. We should be feeling sorry for this person. But Logan, since he's just black, white, he's very stark. When the X-Men comics even come up he's like, this isn't real life. Like, this isn't, and they're highly saturated color. And the girl, the clone of him, she wears like a rainbow. That's literally all the colors she's got that on her chest. And
pink sunglasses. Don't forget her pink sunglasses.
And and the pink sunglasses. But all that color denotes to her, she's like hopeful. She's wants to believe in this superhero type thing. Logan, on the other hand, doesn't believe in that. Now, sometimes he's wearing all black. Sometimes he's wearing all white. When he's meant to come off more sinister, they put him in all black. And actually, when they go out to fix whatever's wrong, when they're at the ranch with that family, he's wearing all black and he seems kind of sinister. But then when they're working, he takes it off, and underneath he's wearing all white. That shows him as, and then who shows up? The bad guys wearing dark colored clothes who start to intimidate them. And then, of course, he's wearing the white when the clone of himself comes in wearing dark gray. Right. Now that's white. And then you start seeing, now what happens when he starts to bleed? That white becomes crimson. He's being a hero. And that same thing happens at the end of the film when the kids are being abducted by all the bad guys, the stormtroopers in like dark armor. The kids are wearing, kids' clothes, so some of them have some color. He takes the drug. He's now back, even shaved. He looks like a younger Wolverine. Now he's got that drug in him. He's fighting ready in a fresh wife beater, in a fresh white shirt. Let's just say that. And so he goes, and then he starts getting shot. What's happened? He's putting himself at risk for this, and then color starts to happen, more because he's being a hero. He's being heroic. And there's other uses of that. For instance, the nurse that first drops the girl off is driving in like a teal colored car, and the girl, she originally has like a bright red sweater as opposed to like the dark, or the less bright colors that we see on Logan, like black and white or brown sometimes. But still, all that stuff coming together is just like this kind of stuff that they do behind the scenes that reinforces everything about a movie. And if you can do that well, it just makes the movie that much better. And I'm blown away by stuff like that in this film. Even when they're escaping, there's one part where they're in the limo escaping from the original house, and they're pretty much all desert, and they're racing towards that train. The train comes along, they get past the train, and they turn, and so they've escaped. What do they turn into? A horizon with like green in it, as opposed to the desert that was behind them, literally saying we're going to a better place. Now, they get stuff happens later, but that's denoting that right now they're safe. And so this movie was amazingly shot, amazingly written, and amazingly well acted. And I'm going to stop talking now so you guys can say something in edgewise. John Matheson is the cinematographer that I was,
I love this movie. I mean, it's depressing because you're taking one of the most iconic X-Men, and now he's old and he's dying, and he's trying to take care of Xavier.
He's also older and dyinger.
Yeah. So yeah, I watched this last night,
and all mutants are being hunted too. It's not even just like, well, let's go live in peace. It's like, good luck getting there.
Yeah. I cry. Well, anytime I watch this movie, there's certain scenes that, the tears just come naturally because it's just so sad.
The girl did an amazing job too.
Yes.
A really great job. Like she needs to look stone-faced or what will you? Like she is. When she needs to look, freaking, she is. And when she needs to convey like hurt, and which she does often, like there's a difference between when she's like fighting and and that's really good acting for someone very young. And the interaction between both of them is so good when they're just in the pickup together, like after Charles died, when they're burying Charles, and when she takes his hand, and then when he pulls it away, And again, if you haven't watched the Wolverine music video that I made, a lot of this is included in there. But some of and especially some of the things that he says in this film is like, I don't know what Charles put in your head, but I'm not whatever it is you think I am, okay? He's like, people that I care about get hurt. And that's also another reason why he's trying to push her away. Because basically everyone he's ever known since he's gotten his memory back is now dead, including Charles, who was the last person he was trying to protect. He's just still alive and everyone he knows is dead. And he doesn't have the strength to go on, but now he has to find it for this.
Wasn't this movie up for an Oscar?
Should have been. I don't know.
Actually, I think the little girl may have been nominated for supporting actress.
That's it? Not for Best Picture or anything?
No. The last time we had any kind of geeky movie that was Best Picture was Return of the King.
I'm
sorry. Let me take that back.
Best
because Black Panther was nominated.
Mm-hmm.
He just didn't.
Return of the King though swept most award-winning movie ever.
So, speaking of Return of the King, hey, don't forget
Fellowship of the Ring 20th anniversary.
20 years this year.
Which I would never have remembered or known or whatever if David hadn't said it. So thank you, David. Yes, it is the 20th anniversary of the Fellowship of the Ring. I pretty much exclusively watch the extended editions of those movies now. But I watch them at least once a year, sometimes more. And yeah, Lord of the Rings. I am so ridden with anxiety over this new show that Amazon's got coming out, but I reserve judgment until I've actually seen it. You know me.
Yeah,
I'll see it before I shred it.
I lost a little bit of faith with the Two Towers, and then that Hobbit trilogy, which was just oh my god, what did you do? It's a travesty.
It's New Line Cinema's fault. Here, quick diatribe. I wrote a paper on this in college also. So New Line Cinema had a dispute with what's his face, the director of Lord of the Rings,
Peter Jackson.
I was like J.R.R. Tolkien. I was like, no, that's the right one. So Peter Jackson and Peter, he was suing them because they weren't squaring up to the deal that they had made. And so they were like, we're going to get somebody else to direct this Hobbit trilogy. And they were going to get Guillermo del Toro. He was set up to be filming it. That guy that did like the fish in the water and the
Hellboy movies.
The Hellboy, yeah. And he's a good director, but they were getting the movie set up for him to film them, you know, pre-production according to what he wanted. He bails last minute. New Line Cinema says, "Oh no, what do we do? This is last minute. We've plunged so much money into this. Okay, let's do the only thing we can do. Get the guy that knows how to do this stuff, Peter Jackson." And so they got Peter Jackson, but he had to start filming way before. They had stuff set up for other people. That's why so much of the Hobbit relies on like computer graphics and stuff, because they didn't have as much time to plan it out as he would have liked to. And the stuff that they did have planned out was initially for someone else. And then there was the whole debacle of filming it at a different frame rate, which I still think was dumb, because that actually makes colors look differently. So you had professionals coming to like set up color tests, and then they would see it played back, and it's like, this doesn't. And then everyone who saw it in theaters was like, this looks weird. So that would a mess. Yeah.
Okay, so Logan was nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, and it was also nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Action Performance by a Stunt Ensemble.
I can believe that.
There you go. Oh, she's not even here.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
She's there. Get ready for a black lesbian Gandalf. Woke. Get ready for that woke Amazon. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. And I'm not going to talk about it here, but people complain about diversity in Lord of the Rings. And if you know what the Lord of the Rings is about and what it was written for, that's not even an argument that makes sense. But I'm not getting into it right now. Because I do know that, and it's not. There's no one to fight about it with. And this is a Marvel show, so we should be talking about Logan and then Deadpool 2.
One
So-
last thought: if you want a good Lord of the Rings movie, go watch the 1976 Ralph Bakshi animated Lord of the Rings, because that one actually was close to the story. They only went through the first half of the Two Towers, but still better story. Anyway, Deadpool.
Logan.
Logan.
Logan. Logan. Logan's around. No. Logan. Anything else?
Okay, so let me ask a question, because the albino
Caliban.
that was in this one, is that the same character that was in
Same
Apocalypse?
character,
Same
different
character,
actor.
different. I mean, I figured it was a different actor because it's different. but
Absolutely.
I
different
was just
actor.
I'm not familiar with the comic book stuff about this, so I'm like,
yeah,
is
same
that-
powers. He can sense other mutants and stuff. And I don't know. I was never. He's also he's usually like, we need to find a mutant, and if you don't have Professor X and Cerebro, then it's a good, like, that's the guy you need to go to. So
Gotcha.
And it just so happened they could have probably put almost anyone in that role, just another surviving mutant. But he's a good one to kind of be like a servant to them, if you will. I mean, it's not like he has any threatening powers per se. So if you're on the run, he's probably looking more to them for protection than himself.
I like the actor that they got to play him too. He was really good.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's that British guy. He's on a bunch of
He was he dated Amy Farrah Fowler for a bit in The Big Bang Theory, when she and Sheldon broke up. I forgot what season. He was on 2 or 3 episodes though.
He's a friend of, now I can't remember his name. That really smug British comedian who invented The Office.
Oh,
I just can't. It's not flying in my head right now. Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. But he's really good friends with that guy, and they do this other show called An Idiot Abroad. And for the most part, it's this third guy. But there's always, like, at the beginning, it's just those two making fun of this guy and where he's going to have to go, and that's where I mostly know him from. They also had a podcast, which my brother listened to, but I can't remember his name. It's killing me. All right, well, I'll have to think about that. Anyway, I'm sure I'll look it up at some point and we'll get back to it, but that's not important right now. Logan, the scene with the farmhouse is probably that's a huge. I mean, if you have like the beginning of the movie and then the end of the movie, you've got like that huge moment there. I mean, the confrontation out. First of all, the family dinner, where you get to kind of see them trying to be in a normal situation when it's Logan and the professor who's like, who knows what he's going to say, and also this girl who they think is mute and they barely even know, and all this stuff but they're trying to appear like some sort of family in front of this other family.
Well, I think Charles was trying to show Logan that there's still time to have this type of life.
But he even said this was the best day I've had in a long time.
But what happens though? They're killed.
No.
The family is killed for helping them. Charles is killed when he thinks that's heartbreaking to me, by the way. He thinks he's looking at Logan when he dies. Or when he's stabbed initially, and then Logan fights his way up there to try and save him. But so that's kind of the thing, is like, what, Charles might have wanted this thing, but this is what Logan's been saying the entire time, is that, like, that's not who I am. People I care about. That's what he literally says this later in the film. People that I care about get hurt. And that has been his running theme. Anyone he's cared about basically ends up coming to harm as far as he's concerned. And he can't do anything to save them, no matter how hard he tries, as evidenced by the professor who he buries. And so and that's a big deal for him to get to the point where he decides to try and go save this girl. when they're on the run. He doesn't have to, because if you remember, they all get to like the safe place where they're actually trying to go. Yay! But what they're actually trying to do is get across like the Canadian border to like a shelter, and if they get there, they're safe. And they leave Logan behind when they initially set off for this thing. He's in the hideout, but he sees the bad guys coming in, and he runs out to fight them. Why?
Because he's a good guy.
He can't help himself. As much as he tries, he just can't help.
He didn't even have to dance or anything. He's just a good guy.
And then, thank goodness. Well, it would be if you had some random scene with him like dancing in a club or doing something, you'd be like, Venom. You'd be like, what happened to my character? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why did you put this on film? Who are you trying to torture? Is it me? Are you trying to torture me? No. But yeah, Logan, the emotional pull of that film is, and you leave it feeling good, I think. I mean, it's sad, but it's like the kids got away. It meant something to him. I love when she takes the cross on it and tilts it to the side and make an X.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a cruciform symbol either way. Get over it, ye Christians. Me, I don't know. My name's Chris. I'm a Christian. Oh, man. No, but it's great. And he sacrifices himself. Obviously, that whole... I want to just bring up the point that he does get impaled on that log. That's intense. I want to make sure we remember that. For
I was going to bring it up.
Deadpool 2. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to bring it up.
Are we done with Logan? Are there any other thoughts? I just want to mention Patrick Stewart again because his performance in this was like heart-wrenching. Seeing him care and seeing Logan have to be the realist, like who's like, I have to deal with your dementia and stuff. It's like, yeah, I get that you want to help everyone, but realistically, I can barely help you.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to like also save the world? And so that when it, when they have that scene with the X-Men comics, she thinks this isn't what real, that was kind of like, it's about as meta as
that was one of the better lines in that. Was he goes, "Oh look, we got an X-Men fan."
We got an X-Men fan.
You know what? About a third of this stuff
happened
is what happened, and it's all embellished.
And it didn't happen like this, and he tossed it down. And again, back to the color thing that I was mentioning. Those are some of the brightest colors in the film. Is the pages of the comics, as well as again her pink sunglasses and her. But that's like, those are the heroes, right? That's exactly what it's trying to say is like those bright colors represent the hero. And that's what he, and if you ever watch it again, if you think about it, try and pay attention to like the color of the clothes that different people are wearing. And I swear to God, if you pick up on it, I did a project on that. I'll have to get it. I'll have to try and find the slides, but it's like, look at him here. He's wearing a white shirt. Look at him now. He's being a hero, and there's blood on it. So now I guess it lacked color before. So a lack of a lack of color. Now there is color through his action. And so someone else actually asked, I'll bring this back up. Where was it? Did you like the original or Logan Noir better? So if you know about this, there was an entire black and white version of this film that came out. And it's great. But for as obsessed I am with the color theory stuff, yeah, I like the original better. Just because there's so much there that you don't get to see with a black and white. And also, it wasn't shot for black and white, so there's some stuff that doesn't show up as well as if they'd actually planned to do it that way. But that's just me. I know other people really like that, but I would say the original is the way to go. Anyway, anything else on Logan before we go into Deadpool 2?
Just a shout out to little girl. She was amazing. We'd already mentioned her and talked about it, but she was
Phenomenal performance, yeah. And I kind of hope, I don't know how they would bring her back, but I mean that was back in the day before we were sure about the Disney takeover. We were like, I'd like to see her.
What year did this
pop up
happen?
again.
2000. It's the movie
17?
itself.
What year did the movie take place in? Yeah.
2029.
Oh, see, we're in 2023 or thereabouts in the MCU timeline, so we're not far off.
And multiverse.
Yep. Oh,
They
yeah,
can
multiverse.
just do anything.
The running excuse. It's the multiverse.
Oh, that's the smartest thing they come up with. No wonder they're doing reshoots on Doctor Strange. Like, we got to seal up this whole multiverse thing so that we can make sure that it's just a go-to excuse no matter what we do. Multiverse. If you ever see something like that, a wizard did it. I need to get that.
It's all about the Force.
I need to get that clip. Anyway, roundabout, now we're coming into Deadpool 2, and Deadpool 2 takes it up even another notch from Deadpool 1. Because I love them. I love them both. I love that. Deadpool 2 is just like killing it.
Sorry I'm late. I was fighting a caped badass. But then we discovered his mom is named Martha.
Then we discovered his mom is named Martha too.
Another DC reference out of
Which
Deadpool
is just
2.
a straight shot. Yeah, at Batman versus Superman. Why are you late? Oh, well, I was fighting a caved badass. But then we learned his mom was named Martha too. It's like, that is what happened in that movie. Boy, when you say it just like that, it does sound really freaking stupid.
I was halfway expecting Captain America I was halfway expecting Iron Man when in Civil War when he said he killed my mother. I was halfway expecting a follow-up line, and her name was Martha.
And the beginning of the film is so great because he's trying to kill himself. We don't know why yet, because as in the first Deadpool, he kind of plays with the timeline a little bit. Not as much in this one because he doesn't need to. There's literally a time traveler. But he's got he's winding up a toy and he sets it down, and then and it's Logan being impaled on the stump. And then he's just literally calls him out. He's like, not only is he riding my coattails with the R rating, now he's gonna die. Well, guess what? I'm dying in this one. And that comes after the initial murderous rampage, which you rewatched it recently?
This weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Did you watch the theatrical version?
Yes.
Okay. There's an unrated version.
Wait a minute. Maybe whatever was on Blu-ray, wherever Blu-ray came from.
I don't know.
Mine was on Vudu, so I have no idea if it
probably
was
the original. But in the extended version, there's like longer cuts of everything, different jokes for half of the jokes he says. I had one of my intros the other day because I actually just watched the theatrical version too. I showed it to my parents because I try to culture them. We have fun. I showed them Star Wars for the first time like less than a year ago. So, and we watched it original and then prequels, and that's all I showed them because
we are not having this argument again tonight.
I'm not. No.
But
if you hadn't seen any Star Wars up to that point, I figure I did a good deed in showing them that much. But I was like, if I'm going to have a Yoda banner behind me, I can't have parents walking around not knowing what the hell is going on. So yeah, I showed him different stuff. I showed him Deadpool 2, and so this was the first time I'd seen the theatrical version in a long time because I've watched the like unrated edition several times, and so I was noticing all these different jokes that were either different or they skipped out on stuff or like had a completely different line. So it's a very different film, just the theatrical from the unrated. And I wanted to ask David real quick. This is the one that they did the PG-13 one for, right? Once Upon a Deadpool.
it was direct to DVD.
How different is that from the theatrical version?
As far as story goes, not at all. They I know a lot of the F-bombs are changed. But it's done in a funny way too, because
they take out the sex scene.
from Deadpool 2? I didn't realize there was a sex scene in Deadpool 2.
Isn't there?
No, that
thought
was
there
the
was.
first. That was the first one.
There's a strip club scene.
No, that was in Deadpool 1 as well.
No, there's a Deadpool 2 strip club scene when he. Well, that might be in the unrated version too.
So, anyway,
Because he's wearing heels with the wig, working 9 to
right.
5. Now,
But that
in
was
the
part of the montage, though.
It was, but the montage is longer in the unrated version. Like when he there's like he pops out of the coffin. He actually starts shooting at people, and the briefcase goes flying, and money goes everywhere. When he's in the Japanese sauna or whatever, that's a lot longer in the unrated version and a lot more like graphic with the blood and guts and everything that goes flying. Like he cuts this one dude's arms and legs off, and that guy's just kind of like waddling on no limbs, then falls forward. And like I'm pretty sure that wasn't in the theatrical version because I was watching. I'm just like, they're skipping over some of these things. Like I guess that's the difference between R-rated and unrated.
But,
And then they literally just change jokes with like, because he's wearing a mask, you don't know what he's saying. There's the point where like they all come flying down out of the sky. Well, it's just interesting, I think, to see. And they changed a lot of other stuff too. Like when Cable first arrives, the scene with the truck. In the theatrical version, there's basically just like a whoop, and he kind of walks out of a portal. In the unrated super crazy version, there's like a impact crater and he goes like slamming through, and there's a big explosion, and then he comes walking out of that, and I was just like that. And the conversation that the two guys are having, which is ridiculous, it's about wiping your ass, and it's that conversation is much longer. And who is that? That's Matt Damon. The fatter guy is Matt Damon, and then the skinnier guy is Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
And so those are two big name people. Again, Matt Damon's in this. Brad Pitt is in this for 2 frames. Vanisher. Vanisher. Oh, I love it. And we actually have some more famous X-Men in this as well.
You think the studio would throw us a bone? They can't just dust off one of the famous X-Men. How about that Potts with the giant pigeon wings? What do those do anyway, huh? Carry him 3 feet off the ground to snatch up the nearest muffin crumb? No.
No. The references.
With this collar on, my superpower is just unbridled cancer. Give me a bow and arrow, I'm basically Hawkeye.
Now, okay, so the kid in this one,
Russell. Fire fist! Whoa, where does it burn? Just to the wrist or all the way up to the elbow?
The kid in this one, for some reason, and I don't know what it was, but before this movie actually came out, my brother sent me. He said, "Hey, go watch this movie," and it was a movie from New Zealand called like Cry of the Wilder People or Search for the Wilder People or something like that. And it had Sam Neill in it from the Jurassic Park movies.
Yeah.
And it was him and this kid, and they're like, he adopted him, and they're going on this adventure thing, and it was just really corny. I mean, it was funny and it had its moments, but then Deadpool 2 comes out, and I go see it a few weeks later, and I'm like, oh, that's the kid from the other movie. Oh, everything's tying together. It's beautiful.
Always wanted to be a superhero? Well, why don't you then? Look at me. You ever seen a plus-size superhero? The industry discriminates. Oh my God! You killed Black Tom! Why don't you go hang out with Black Tim or Black Dave, whatever his name was. All I remember was he was African-American. The jokes come flying so fast in this one.
I got my shank in my prison wallet. No, please don't. Oh no, don't do what I think you're gonna do.
I hear you rummaging around.
Who are you? I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. That was great. My dad, when I showed that to them, like, because there were some parts that I laughed at and they just either didn't get the reference or whatever. But when they said that, my dad just like busted out. He was like,
Dubsteps are pussies. You're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe? I love dubstep.
So one of the other things I really like about this one is, like, I love the fourth wall breaking. I love in this one how, like, he's constantly pointing out the terrible writing.
Power dampening collar. Shuts down all mutant abilities. Can't get it off unless you've got a grenade.
Huh. Could have used one of those in the first act. They keep a monster in the basement. Right next to a huge steaming bowl of foreshadowing.
This guy, Cable, he's very short, 5'11", not like in the comics. And if we succeed, we all go home early.
So you use a device to slide through time. I got 2 charges, one to get me here, one to get me home.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
Throughout the entire film, like, because at first he's trying to kill himself, and then they capture the kid, and they're like, "Oh, what's that?" Oh, it's power dampening collar. Could have used one of those in the first act. Also, when he goes to Blind Al's place for the first time, he goes to get his cocaine before he goes on his
And the cure for blindness. Don't
yeah,
forget
that's
right
down
next to the
there.
cure for-
In the first movie, before he leaves for his final rampage, he says, "By the way, Al, if I don't come back, I buried 2 kilos of cocaine in here somewhere, along right next to the cure for blindness. Good luck." And so this, he comes back to get his cocaine, and if you look right underneath, amongst other random Wade items, is the cure for blindness. It's there. It's there. It's still... You should have been more careful. I almost shot you in the wall, the refrigerator. And when he's explaining the plan of the X-Force I love, by the way, they spend the entire time building up the team, and here's the thing I like
all
about
die.
it. Yeah, immediately, because that entire sequence only takes up about 20 minutes, recruiting and then killing them. It's making fun of movies that take the entire time recruit, like the Justice League took the entire time, like, just recruiting everyone because you didn't know who they were. So they're making fun of the whole putting together a team bit, and that's like heist movies, all different kinds of stuff. They're making fun of all of that, doing it hilariously, making fun of everyone that comes in. My name's Rusty, but I go by Shatterstar. Good, yeah, because Rusty is Vanisher. Oh, I love it.
He's not here yet, is he?
He may be running late. And then the fact that they keep showing Vanisher is just like a CGI backpack floating or whatever, or like a parachute floating. That's a great touch. They show him in the air when they're showing the X-Force spread out, and then they're zooming in on different people. They zoom in on just the parachute coming down. And then Vanisher! They're all dying, in that awesome scene where the X-Force just gets taken out. And again, they took so little time on all of this. It's just a bit. It's like a 20-minute bit part of the movie. They're just like, here's the X-Force. They're gone now.
Except for Domino.
Except for Domino.
Yeah.
And that's even funnier because he's the one's like, luck isn't a power. So anyway, they're all dying. Vanisher comes down. Maybe the wind can't blow what it can't see. And that's the 2 frames where you see Brad Pitt
being electrocuted.
He was paid for this movie. They bought him a cup of coffee. Ryan Reynolds said, "I just thought it'd be hilarious to have like a really big name actor in this for just like, 2 frames." And it is. And so, for instance, when he then gets on his little moped, drives away, that's a scene they changed the dialogue. I forget what he says in the theatrical version, but in the extended version, he says, "Whoever came up with this plan was smoking a lot of jazz cabbage. Brrr. Looking good, Vanisher," who's on fire at the time. And I think that, for instance, is like a way funnier thing than what was in the actual theatrical version. If you guys haven't seen the unrated version, I would recommend it, just because you're going to get at least 25% of the jokes are actually different. Because they changed up whatever they felt like. Because they were already making, I guess, that Christmas version, the PG-13 version. They're just like, hey, can we go even crazier? And that's what the fight song between Juggernaut and Colossus. This was the biggest disappointment for me. Because in the theatrical version, I don't know, it's some kind of rap song or something where they're like, above. In the unrated version, it's literally a song called Fight Dirty. fight dirty, fight dirty. I'm fighting dirty. You know, it's like it works so much better. And I was amazed. I was like, I can't believe that wasn't in the theatrical version. That's so much better. It's rough. It's different. I mean, it's still a good movie, but having seen the extended, it's kind of how I feel watching Lord of the Rings. It's like I would never voluntarily.
If you enjoyed watching the extended unrated version, I would strongly recommend going out and buying a copy of Once Upon a Deadpool.
Deadpool.
If anything, just for the extra. I mean, because they had a bunch of extra stuff in this one that wasn't in.
Well, it's got Fred Savage in it too.
Got Fred Savage.
Fred Savage. For that alone, I would be like, yeah. But also just for the fact that having watched the theatrical version and then the unrated version, and I'm noticing the differences between that, I want to see what jokes they came. I'm a compulsive person, and since I love this, yeah, I'm probably going to buy that just so I can see what different jokes they made.
There was the one that was just hilarious, and he was talking about. Maybe he was talking about Brad Pitt. I don't remember, but he's talking to Fred Savage about something, and Fred was like, "I want to fight him. I want to take him down in the basement and just fight him hard. I will fight him standing up." But every time he was doing it, he had this little beeper thing, and he'd go beep beep. So it was like, I want to f him, and I would f him so hard.
Now I will have to check that.
Go watch it. It's.
I guess it's like also
and he does a whole Princess Bride thing for Fred Savage.
Yeah. I knew about that, and that alone kind of made me want to see it. I just didn't want to support it because I saw it as, hey, look, we're making a PG-13 Deadpool. The more people we get to support this, the more likely it's going to be that we'll change Deadpool to just being a. And I was like, I don't want to. But now it's been enough time. I'm going to go check it out.
I think it's more of a. In my opinion, it wasn't that. It was more of a. We would like to include the younger crowd, so we're going.
And I understand that as well.
We're gonna do this, but at the same time, we're gonna add a bunch of stuff that's still funny.
And that's the wonderful thing about Deadpool, and I think about this film too. And I was watching my parents when they were watching as much as I was, and when there's deep emotional stuff too, it hits all the much harder. Especially because this is a guy who's so like off the rails so like when he's committed to something, it's usually a good thing too, even if he's not doing it the right way or, you know, whatever, he's got the right intentions. And in the comics, Deadpool, you know, yeah, he's a murderer. He will kill people indiscriminately, but he also helps random people out a lot. Like there's a really good comic arc where there's a girl about to commit suicide, and then he just takes her with him on a night of Deadpooling. And by the end, she decides not to commit suicide. But they talk about a lot of really interesting and deep things. It's not just like, I saved you from falling off a building. It's like, I actually helped you psychologically work through some things, which is also a crazy thing for someone like Deadpool to be doing. But that's why he cared. Like, why does he care so much about this kid? Cable comes back, he's willing to murder this kid, and Deadpool's trying to stop him. Deadpool, the guy who just shot that other guy in the head. Deadpool, the guy that, but he's like, he has a line that he draws, like, no kids. And so, and the whole idea that the future is always in motion and you can change, and that's a big part of it too. So so much to love about this movie. The humor, I love the fact Batman has like the Batmobile, right? Superman can fly. Wonder Woman has the invisible jet. Batman has a cab driver and a cab. Like that's literally how he gets to places. Oh, I need to go to the next fight scene. All right, let me call up and get in the cab.
Okay,
and it's the same cab driver.
It's Dopeender. It's always
Dopeender.
Mm-hmm.
And they all get in the cab together. And the first one, like a Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Colossus are in the backseat, and in this one it was Domino and Cable in the backseat. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
That taking a step back to the first, that was probably my absolute favorite scene in the first Deadpool was when he said, "It's my love rival Bantu. He's in the trunk. I'm doing like you told me, Mr. Poole, and I'm taking him out. I did not tell him that. I'm so proud of you."
I
know
never
what to
said
do.
anything like that. Go ahead and kill him. You make sure you let him go.
And you
And they reference that in the beginning of this. Do you remember Bantu, who I threatened with great violence? You killed him, I'm pretty sure. Do you remember the movie An Interview with a Vampire, sir? I try not to. Think of me as your 10-year-old Kirsten Dunst. I'll never not think of you like that, Dopinder. Kirsten Dunst. Is it Kristen? Kirsten?
Kirsten.
It's like that just like make this unique from so many other things. And it's that Ryan Reynolds like sprinkle of magic on it.
Well, then you got Josh Brolin, who
He did such a good job.
Is that a fanny pack? I used to have one of those in 1990. Never.
Retrieving something from my utility bag.
It's a goddamn fanny pack, and you know it, you sick son of a bitch. The difference is night and day.
I mean, I thought it was great because he also plays Thanos.
he even mentioned him. He called
says
him
it, yeah.
Thanos.
Calm
At
down,
some point.
Thanos. Yeah. Because he says, pump the hate brakes, Fox and friends, at one point to the...
He said that to Negasonic. George.
And he says, cool down, Thanos. And they keep making fun of his height, which is great. And Cable himself, I mean, he is such as much as he's very much the straight man to Deadpool, you know, because in comedy you have like the guy who's making the jokes and then like the guy who's like playing it serious. Like Cable is the guy who's playing it serious the entire time, as so is Colossus for the most part. But Cable is more involved in this than Colossus is. But it is absolutely hilarious to see them interacting. It's funny. It's wonderful. When they do the sword deflecting and then he just keeps shooting and the bullets.
Which is the total opposite of the Wolverine movie.
Exactly. And that's like if you're not someone that like watches all these movies and you wouldn't necessarily get that. You'd get it that like, okay, he deflected one, but he's not fast enough. But if you watch you know for a fact they're taking a shot at X-Men Origins Wolverines right there. They're taking a shot at it. It's fantastic.
Now I have a question because I don't know if I missed something because we had Juggernaut in this one and also in one of the X-Men movies. But in this movie,
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
in this movie, he makes a comment about his half brother,
Charles Xavier.
Charles, yeah.
How did I not know this?
You didn't know the Juggernaut was Charles's half brother?
I don't read the comics, so I don't know.
Yeah,
His
hey,
helmet.
guess what?
That's why he wears that thing.
It's to keep Charles from finding him.
Now they
It's
didn't
like
make
Magneto's helmet.
They didn't make that a plot point at all in X-Men 3, which was the first time in the films. That's the first time you meet the Juggernaut. Is in X-Men 3. They just say he's incredibly, and also there's rumors that in X-Men 3 there was supposed to be another cell that was going to have Gambit in it, but clearly they had to cut that for time, and they should have cut a bunch of other things for a bunch of other reasons. But they just basically introduce him as the Juggernaut and say, but he does have a British accent in that, which is the only hint that you get that he is a half brother to Charles Xavier. His name is Kane Marco. He's a half brother to Charles Xavier. The comment that they make in this is Russell says like, so your brother is in a wheelchair? And he goes, or he says, so you have to wear that helmet because your brother can control your mind? He says, yeah, but he can't walk, so we're even Stevens. And that's basically like, for the most part, they tried to stay out of each other's way because Juggernaut.
I kind of wondered because when he said that, I was like, "What? Wait."
But his helmet keeps Xavier from getting in. That's why there was a great episode of X-Men Evolution, even though that show was iffy on its own. X-Men Evolution was one where they're like in high school, but Xavier sends the team out against Juggernaut. He has like 4 clasps on his helmet before they can get it off, and they disable the clasps in a different way. Nightcrawler is very effective there, but once they can get the helmet off, then Xavier can take him down. And so it's also very interesting in this, they know the Juggernaut's unleashed, and yet they still only have the available X-Men. You know what I mean? Like, Colossus. Yeah, Colossus is like, this should definitely be something that, like, Juggernaut is out. You should be sending like a team,
everybody,
like everybody, not just. But it's also a Deadpool movie, so you're lucky you got the X-Men. You did.
I thought that was hilarious when he ripped him in half and
what have I got that Juggernaut doesn't have?
Don't you say
legs? Legs.
You remind me of my wife.
I'm sorry?
I said you remind me.
No, I'm sorry that you said that while making heavy eye contact and applying lip balm.
There are so many jokes.
That whole scene right there, just where he's growing his legs back.
First joke.
It's just,
he uncrosses his legs. It's his basic instinct.
It's such an uncomfortable scene.
I kept waiting for one of them to say, "Oh, look,
he's straight up shirt cocking it." Freaking Winnie the Pooh over here. Domino walks in. Oh my God! Yeah, I'm sorry. It's like, no, I just never seen you without your mask on. That's it's like an avocado. Weasel says it's like an avocado. And when the scene where Weasel gives up all the information. You people don't know a lot about pain. First, I'm going to start. Yeah, go ahead, dude.
He says, first I'm going to start. No, you don't even have to go that far because I don't do pain at all.
I'm not going to make it to number 2. In fact, I'm not going to make it past number 1. Look, I stubbed my toe. I'm out for the day. So I will tell you anything you need to know except what their plans are. All right, here's what they're doing. But I'll let you know that he has assembled an excellent team of motherfuckers, and if you even try and get in their way, you should know there is a wind advisory in effect.
Great. Glorious.
Papa, can you hear me? Do you want to build a snowman? Man. Nobody ever freaking talks about it. That was so awesome. Because also it was like, okay, I got you a present, a skee ball token from our first date. Yep, that's real high grade lead. I got you something too. I don't know what this is. It's my IUD. It's a bomb. That's my birth control, which I think is because IED. That's so close, but. Another great joke there, but yeah. So they're talking about starting a family. That's the big motivation for the entire thing is that she gets killed after that. But he's like, why don't we put on some porn and get working on this baby? You grab the strap on. Well, I don't think that's how it works, but let's give it a shot. And then the porn that they're watching is Yentl, which made my mom crack up. That's when my mom lost it. She was like, that's actually a really good movie, Yentl. And I was like, Yentl? And she was like, okay, so you know. And then we laughed about that for a minute. She was like, that movie's great. And she said it wrong.
You didn't know about Yentl?
Papa, can you hear me? I did. No, I did. Oh. I corrected her she's like, you got to check that out. That's a good movie, Yentl. And I was like, Yentl? And she was like, oh. And I was like, I went to film school. Crazy enough. I had some background. Absolutely, yeah. Papa, can you hear me? Do you want to build a snowman? Nobody ever talks about it. That's amazing. And when they get the guy, Fat Gandalf, if you remember him from the first movie. Kahuna his tatas.
Hakuna his tatas.
So that
cast a
same
spell
guy,
or something.
you know, denial ain't just a river in Egypt. According to the Kubler Ross, you got to, Jesus Christ, no more speaking lines for you, Buck. Another amazing breaking the fourth wall bit. Too much fun.
What was the one where he was sitting on the stool too, and he goes, "Are you peeing right now?
You've
That's
got
the
the face like you're
You got
peeing."
that face."
I've got that. Okay, so in the theatrical version, I don't know exactly what they said. It was something like, "I do not understand how using a mop is the same as handling a gun." And I don't know what they say in the theatrical version, but in the unrated version, he says, "Because I could grab either of them, shove them up your ass, and kill you with them." Which is my preferred telling of that joke.
I'm gonna have to go look at my DVD or my Blu-rays now and see, if I got see which version I got.
It's worth it checking it out. I'm definitely planning on checking out the PG-13 version because Deadpool does not need to be R-rated. But now, if it's a Deadpool-focused story, I think it should be. I think it should be R-rated. That's the way it should be. Can you make it other ways? Clearly, yes, you can. You can make it even worse. You like either way. But can Deadpool appear alongside? Well, if he's such a whatever character, then he could never show up alongside Spider-Man. No, yes, he does, and he's just limited by like what the parental rating up in the corner.
Let's
if
go make these people
Y7,
not dead, not living.
Let's not alive them. What are you talking about? Well, there are certain words I'm not allowed to say here, so I'll just say, let's go not allowed. Do you mean kill them? We can't do that. And Spider-Man's like trying to stop. And yeah, that was like Ultimate Spider-Man or Amazing. One of the newer Spider-Man cartoons, there was a full Deadpool episode, and it was awesome. And he kept breaking in and like interfering with the narration and different stuff because that's the beauty of Deadpool. And yes, he can be utilized in those other places, but if you're making a purely Deadpool story, it should be R-rated. At least, if not unrated. But I would say R-rated. But I also want to be able to share it with, like, the younger generations. But at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah, screw them. They'll be 18 before they know it, and they can watch it.
Yeah. It's all downhill from there. Deadpool 2. Domino. Let's spend a little bit more time talking about Domino because she was an absolutely amazing addition to the cast. I really loved her interview. What's your power? Luck. That's not a superpower. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it's not. No, it isn't. Yes, it is. Oh. And then when everyone else does their parachutes and they start spiraling off into oblivion, she like goes straight where she needs to go. And so that's when everyone dies. And then Deadpool gets in contact with her. The bad news is everyone's dead. Well, just all the main ones. Looks like it's just me and you, sole survivor. And then he's like, why don't you just wait for me? I'll catch up to you. She's like, we're going to lose the truck. I'm going in now. Look, you don't actually have any superpowers. You can't go in by yourself. I do have superpowers. I'm lucky. That's not a real superpower. And at any rate, it certainly isn't cinematic. While he's saying that, there's like car chase things and things exploding and power lines falling down. It's certainly not cinematic. I mean, whatever kind of coked up, junk ass, crazy pipe token mother fricker came up with this is probably the same kind of idiot that couldn't draw feet, because the person they're talking about is the person that came up with Deadpool and Domino, who self-admits says he can't draw feet. So it was just, and then she's like, okay, yeah, I got it. And he's like, what? Okay, maybe you are somewhat lucky.
Well, and then when they were at the orphanage and she was trying to get the kids out.
I'm gonna need a bus to get these kids out of here.
Hello.
Here we go.
But she even
She's
says
so
something
much fun.
She says something about that too. She's like, what did she say? She said, "Oh, I know the reason I'm here now. This is where I
Her
was brought up."
cosmic ring, and that's what she says when they first get introduced. And he's like, "Why did you come here?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know yet, but things just tend to work out for me." And then me and my mom talked about that. I was just like, "Now there's the power you want to have. Just being lucky, no matter what the hell you're doing. I'll sign up for that one real quick." Give me that. But it use whatever imaginary powers to get us out of here. All right, Lady Luck, take the wheel. She literally runs and starts. You're doing a great job, X-Force. So much fun. And the fact that she survives, yeah, it's like, yeah, forget the rest of them. She's part of your F word. Your family. Holy tit knuckles. That guy is actually on fire. That's not CGI, folks. I love the Deadpool movies because
again, another one of the best lines was at the end when he's dying and he's sitting there and he's telling them all his little words of wisdom. He won't die.
Oh, there comes the light.
Going. And he goes, Colossus, say just say it one time. Just one time. Yeah, go ahead and say it. Oh, enjoy hell.
Enjoy hell, swamp mouth. All right, here comes. There's the light. Oh God, that's the sun.
I just can't let it go.
Don't look right into that. Just a couple more words before I go. Woodpecker. Codswallop. Oh, I hope they got that in slow motion.
So if he gets ripped in half and he regrows his legs, do the legs that got ripped off grow an upper torso and now there's two Deadpools?
That's an excellent question. We're going to say, how do you think the Deadpool family got started? I don't know. It seems to be in this version of him that whatever's connected to his head, I guess, grows back. This is where we've seen the hand. Why does your hand feel so small? Rub my feet, will you? That's not my hand. Why is your hand so small again? That's not my hand.
That's not my hand. Ooh.
And can we talk about how great Leslie Uggams was in this? Because she's a classic actress. And to be in Deadpool as a blind owl.
I thought you saw me with your ears.
It's just so hilarious.
How's that Houdan coming?
Well, it's also because like Ryan Reynolds brings in people that Ryan Reynolds knows. You know, he's like, "Do you want to be in on my Deadpool movie? Hey, Brad Pitt,
we're gonna have some fun
as a guest. Show up one day. I'll buy you a cup of coffee." And that's what happened. And then you got Brad Pitt as the Vanisher.
Was he even credited as that?
Yeah.
Was he? He was in the credits?
Yeah.
I think so.
I'd have to go look.
Absolutely. Just like Alan Tudyk.
Did you know that Brad Pitt is one of the producers on the Lego Masters show?
No, but
I had no clue. I was watching it the other day. I was like, "Oh my God, that's Brad Pitt. He's an executive producer. It's got to be."
He's got a bunch of kids,
I guess.
And also, it's a profitable enterprise. Legos.
Yep.
Lego my Legos. It's a.
I won't sit there and correct you as
Yeah.
The Legos plural. The S does not make Legos plural. Lego by
Legos.
Yes.
Lego my Legos.
There you
Lego
go.
my Legos. Lego my Legos. Look out. Deadpool 2. Worried about Deadpool 3? A little bit.
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, Ryan Reynolds has come out and said he's writing it, so that makes me feel better.
Yes.
And
they
he
said
posted something on, I think it was Instagram. He had
Sounds like
posted
him.
like his backpack, and there was like a script, and it said Deadpool on it or something like that, or it had his mask in it. I'm not sure what it was. So I think it's going forward.
I think too they've come out and said it's going to maintain its R rating. So the fact that he's writing it, it's going to maintain the R rating. That gives me hope.
Al.
God, I miss cocaine.
Her. Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
We're getting ready to shut it down here. So if you have any other thoughts, I'm just going to play through the clip. So think about it.
A hush falls over the crowd as rookie sensation Wade W. Wilson out of Regina, Saskatchewan lines up the shot.
His form looks good.
Oh, that's why Regina rhymes with fun.
The counting bullets scene was amazing.
I don't have a clip of that one, but yes.
Oh, man.
Oh, well, Debbie, maybe next time you can clip out stuff for everyone to watch.
Sorry I'm late. I was fighting a caped badass. But then we discovered his mom is named Martha.
I also like the clip where he's there when Colossus and what's her name?
You think the studio would throw us a bone? They can't just dust off one of the famous X-Men? How about that putz with the giant pigeon wings? What do those do anyway, huh? Carry him 3 feet off the ground to snatch up the nearest muffin crumb? No.
And he ends up breaking both hands and his leg.
I almost had that one. But I was going to put it in the opening credits, and then time ran out on me, and I only had
this collar on. My superpower is just unbridled cancer. Give me a bow and arrow, I'm basically Hawkeye.
I only had time to collect what I had.
Who are you? I'm Batman.
And I just love these movies so much. Every minute or so, I'm going, oh, I should get that. Oh, I should get that. Oh, I should get that. There's not nearly enough time or space on this. Ooh.
Dubstep's are pussies.
You're so dark!
Are you sure you're not from the DC universe? I love dubstep!
Power dampening collar. Shuts down all mutant abilities. Can't get it off unless you've got a grenade.
Huh. Could have used one of those in the first act. They keep a monster in the basement. Right next to a huge steaming bowl of foreshadowing.
This guy, Cable, he's very short, 5'11", not like in the comics. And if we succeed, we all go home early.
So you use a device to slide through time. I got 2 charges, one to get me here, one to get me home.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
I love it. Most movies nowadays will argue that if you didn't like the film, it's because there's something wrong with you. This is a film that's literally saying, these writers suck. In the movie.
Is that a fanny pack? I used to have one of those in 1990. Never.
Retrieving something from my utility bag.
It's a goddamn fanny pack, and you know it, you sick son of a bitch. The difference is night and day.
You remind me of my wife.
I'm sorry?
I said you remind me.
No, I'm
of
sorry
my
that you
wife.
said that while making heavy eye contact and applying lip balm.
Wait, is that you?
Hey, it's me. Don't scratch. Just cleaning up the timelines. Look, one day your old pal Wade's gonna ask you to get back in the saddle again. And when he does, say yes.
That whole end credit scene was just amazing.
Say yes.
You're welcome, Canada.
Cleaning up the timeline. All right. That's it for us today here on MCU Mondays. We had a wonderful time talking about Deadpool, Logan, and Deadpool 2. We're excited to come back next week. I believe we're talking about the Blade trilogy. the Blade trilogy. Before
Which
we,
I've never seen, so
we're excited to
HBO
hear.
Max, you don't even have to go to the theater. How's that?
thank God.
You're lucky. Yeah. Well, after that, it's also going to be Hawkeye, which you don't have to go to the theater for. So plenty of stuff you don't have to go to the theater for until Spider-Man, which is probably going to be bustling. Hustling and bustling.
Great Scott!
All right. That's it for us tonight. Have a great one. We'll see you next time.